everyone, and welcome to the first iteration of No Borders Model United Nations, or NB-MUN 2020.
I know that the pandemic has hindered a lot of your experiences as a delegate, so I sincerely hope that whether this is your first conference or your 10th conference, that you'll all learn something at NBMUN.
58 secretariats and chair members from 11 different countries, No Borders Model UN will provide an international conference like no other.
With the COVID pandemic, as we adjust to life in this new digital normal, it's even more important to have these cognizant conversations online as we're all global citizens in a digital space.
Dear delegates, chairs, and advisors, thank you for attending No Borders Model United Nations.
May the House now come to order. We will now proceed with open debate on the topic of commercial use and militarization of space.
Okay, this delegate of Cyprus would just make a short, concise speech to remind the House that every time there's a moderated caucus, let us utilize this opportunity to the best we can by setting up specific agenda topics rather than general debate. This would really help.
The improvement of security and regulations will be a better short-term solution than providing economic aid, which will be better in the long term. Thank you.
The aspect of moving towards other industries, it won't necessarily be an immediate thing. It's more of just more of a long-term goal, essentially.
Well, we all have strong convictions. That is abundantly clear. I believe that even regardless of our allyship, we are sending good men and women to the battlefield to be infected and to die. And no matter what, that is an abhorrent act in itself. And the continuation of it will only serve to worsen the current pandemic we face. If we seek to trust each other, if we seek to ally, if we seek to have diplomacy, then we must form a truce. Thank you.
Should be used towards developing other industries, so that because every country has a finite amount of oil reserves, and eventually they will dry up.
Or does the delegate of Iran believe that the resolution should be scrapped?
Fellow delegates, at the core of the issue, we believe that there are three things that caused the Libyan civil war. The first of this is the fact that we used the election as a marker for success. Despite prevalent problems of militias and armed forces, the UN looked at the election as a sign of success.
Therefore, the delegate of Luxembourg proposes the solution of revising the Outer Space Treaty to account for the new changes in the human technological capacity to access outer space.
The Republic of China. So in the international community, the Republic of China deplores the use of cyber warfare across the international community, as it has brought upon multiple problems in between the countries, which really decreases the cooperation that we strive for in this committee.
The delegate of France would like to request the other delegates and urge the other delegates to not look at the Axis powers claim as an act of humanity, but rather an act of cowardice.
Thank you, Head Chair. Are there any other points or motions on the floor? Seeing none, the committee will now vote on the delegate of Portugal.
The country believes that we should not only focus on the major pandemics that are affecting the entire world, but also some smaller ones that are often neglected.
Seeing none, delegates, we're going to move into the voting for the moderated caucus by the delegate of the United Kingdom, which is effective ways to deal with it.
19. The International Ship and Port Facility Security Code has been adopted by the International Maritime Organization, IMO, and the United States believes that such swift response by the IMO is truly applaudable.
This second Libyan civil war started out as a noble effort by the citizens of Benghazi to rid themselves of a dictator who was a blatant abuser of human rights. But because of careless, bureaucratic foreign intervention,
in line with your policy. What this looks like is, for example, if your country has some sort of trade relationship with Iran, take that into context of the entire international community and relations.
The delegate believes that the actions of both sides of the military are justified and urges all delegates to not consider our differences in the past, but instead look at solutions that we can bring to solve this pandemic.
It is not possible to talk just about the Spanish flu without regarding the context of the war itself as well. The relations between our nations is not good, and any corporation would require the Axis powers to apologize and reimburse the allied nations.
Humanity. As in both of these things, it will result in a better and easier way to tackle the virus and to tackle the Spanish flu at hand. Therefore, this delegate really doesn't see the point of continuously arguing on the truths of this war. Thank you.
To begin forming points of information, writing speeches and amendments, and reading time will begin now. If there's any issues accessing the document, please let the chairs know. Otherwise, you should be able to access the document indicated as all SPECPOL NB-MUN resolution block 2.
The delegate of India agrees that some of the clauses in the resolution, including clause 1, directly violate national sovereignty as they ask a nation to make public information that is usually vital to a nation's national security.
For responding to this delegate's question and clarifying. This delegate would like to also generalize the discussion of this committee to the situation of the less economically developed countries and the cause of the piracies and varying criminal activity.
So as the previous delegates have said, we should ally together and support these emerging economies from becoming corrupted and having malware injected into their systems. But first, we must recognize what is at risk in order to strengthen these gaps as a unity.
In order for the Security Council to really establish peace and its achieve goal of worldwide prosperity, nations must come to consensus and compromise. As per of now, many nations are willing to compromise, including Iran and Russia.
Although the role of transnational small arms in conflicts is incredibly important, the delegation of South Korea believes that we can have a more productive committee with more work and more solutions if we go with the order of agenda, topic 1, 2. So once again, this delegation of South Korea would like to stress the order of agenda 1, 2.
We believe that we must stop all drone strikes to the area because they are hurting the citizens. They're not solving the problem.
Generally, our economy is more dependent on tourism, and oil isn't really a big sector in our economy or anything like that.
Obviously, as a country dealing heavily in oil, we are very impacted by COVID and our oil reserves. So.
The delegate of Iraq would hope that the delegate of the U.S. and the delegate of Iran can, give points of information about their concerns, perhaps, with this deal, in order to, so we can form an understand. So our bloc can form an understanding of how we can structure a deal that will benefit both parties.
Who favor the motion proposed by Brazil for 10-1 moderated caucus on definitions? Please raise your hand at this time.
First of all, the chairs of NBMUN Social and Humanitarian Committee would like to congratulate all the delegates that put in so much effort into this committee. Over the course of 6 hours, we have made at least 76 POIs, 11 speeches, and 22 amendments.
And I can say in my multiple years at Model UN, I have never seen such a unification of countries and a committee. And if that isn't the goal of the UN, I really don't know what is.
All right, thank you, Asha. So as it's already been said multiple times, it was truly an honor to be able to help host this conference, and it was a really enriching experience to be a part of one of the first waves of virtual conferences and to be able to host such wonderful delegates in our DISEC committee.
What delegates accomplished today weighs as much as the hard work the committee has put into this conference, the desire for participation. Every word in POIs and speeches were spoken with so much purpose.
All the delegates have shown amazing work throughout the committee. You have all shown great work speaking from the oil shock all the way to sustainable development goals. All of your speeches were very well versed.
I wish you all the best in your future MUN careers, and I hope that you go forth in the spirit of the United Nations in collaboration, diplomacy.
Southeast Asia. Singapore American School is the best delegation of No Borders MUN. Congratulations, Singapore American School. And that's it from me, coming in from Jeju Island, South Korea, to wherever you are in the world, and have a good night. Bye.